Hey, what's up everybody? Aaron here from Envision Eden once again, continuing with the Robert Brown speaking video series, by me of course, video number 2. Thanks again for all the support on Sick Licks at Vandalism. There's, I think it's Envision Eden Music, so ENVISIONEDEN Music at Vandalism, or just go to vandalism.com and search Envision Eden. We have our website, envisioneden.com, and we're going to have another release. We did Nature of Dreams, which was our own EP, and now we're doing Invention. That will be our second release. Today I would like to just talk players. We'll start with Greg Howe. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Greg Howe. He's phenomenal. Had a little stint with Michael Jackson before he passed. Rest in peace, Michael Jackson, king of pop. Speaking of Michael, I actually sold Michael a guitar one time working at Guitar Center, Sherman Oaks. And Michael Jackson comes in the store. Of course, he was all wrapped up in all kinds of garb and kind of hiding behind sunglasses and such. He came up, he's like, "Guitar, blam, blam." I'm like, "Oh. Acoustic? Yeah." I'm like, "Okay. Electric? Yeah." I was like, "Okay, acoustic, electric?" He said, "Yeah." So I sold him a Takamine at that point. It was like a Wednesday at like 2 in the afternoon, and somebody came in and said, "There's a sick van in the parking lot with bulletproof tires, and it's all blackened out," and they could see through the tinted glass of the van that there was a Thriller plaque inside. And so instead of calling the police, seeing it, thinking we were going to be robbed by all these people wrapped up in all kinds of garb, we were quite friendly, and he spent some money there. But Greg's great. Greg's a phenomenal player, great musician, so to speak. He's well-rounded. Let's talk Yngwie Malmsteen. Well, Yngwie has been around for a while, pretty consistent, doesn't really change his game up much. He stays in the same, style and works with the same things that have worked for him for a long time. Another great influence of mine. Yngwie is quite his own type of player as well. Another phenomenal player, George Lynch. George Lynch is great. He and Warren DeMartini are from that kind of post-Randy Rhoads, LA kind of guitar hero, so to speak. Both Warren and George are very close in style. Even Jakey Lee, for that matter, kind of falls into that department. Great sensibility for vibrato and note selection, kind of haunting note selection. Like, if anybody's familiar with Under Lock and Key, the Dokken album, there's a song called The Hunter, and that solo that George did on that was just unbelievable. And most of the stuff that Warren, Jake, or George Lynch have done has been really awesome, solid. George is with KXM now, working with Doug Pinnick and Ray Luzier, and you got Rat. They're still slugging it out. I think I heard Piercy is on again, off again as far as fronting Rat, but I'm sure they'll work that out. And Jake, he's got the Red Dragon Cartel, and I heard a couple tracks off that. It sounded really good. How about Michael Angelo Badio? Huh? You know, the guy that plays like 4 guitars at once. Michael's a great guy. I actually ran into Michael a handful of times. When I was at a NAMM show in Chicago, I talked to him for a while, and that's the day I met like Paul Gilbert, and Paul was awesome. I went on to kind of be an understudy of his at GIT a couple years after I went to the NAMM show to see Racer X. And Bruce Boulay, he's, you know, was kind of Paul's understudy that made his way into Racer X back in the day. Racer X was like a cartoon, you know. They were like quite fitting with the name Racer X being coming from the Speed Racer animation from when I was a kid, which was unbelievable to watch when I was young. That was one of my favorite things, was Speed Racer. Still haven't seen the movie. I heard they did a version of Speed Racer for a feature film, and I'll have to check it out. Who else? Well, you got Steve Vai, right? Steve Vai, you know, fills Yngwie's shoes, hooks up with Alcatraz, Graham Bonnet, and kind of coming from that Frank Zappa camp. Steve was working with Zappa pretty early on in his musical career, and then he kind of branched from Alcatraz to he pretty much went to Roth, to David Lee Roth, and then he had to fill Eddie Van Halen's shoes, so to speak. In my opinion, you know, Van Halen, you know, with Sammy Hagar, with Roth, I don't know. I mean, you know, Roth was the beginning, you know. A lot of people thought, you know, he was Van Halen. Just like Van Morrison, you know, they would say, hey, Van, you know, the club owners like Bill Gazzari and stuff would call David Lee Roth Van, like they thought that was his name. I personally thought they lived in a van when I first heard the album. I was like, oh, okay, so these guys live in a van. Van Halen, cool. So that's fitting. And I heard Eruption, and that was it. But and that's the reason I play at all. I would have probably never became anything. Not that I've really truly become it, anything, but I at least continued to play, and I was just injected to continue by Van Halen. So it started with Van Halen pretty much. When I was a kid, it was like Eddie this, Eddie that. He played a Kramer. He said they're simply the best guitars. I went and bought a Kramer. He had a No Bozo shirt. I, you know, wanted to get a No Bozo shirt, or a shirt that was close anyway.